Warning, the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. Now, here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Are we close to seeing Mr. Kim here at the White House?
Could happen. I mean,
they talked about that yesterday.
I would have him. Yeah, I think it's something that could happen. Yeah. Hey, he's the head of a country, and I mean, he's the strong head. Mm-hmm. Don't let anyone think anything different. Right. He speaks, and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
I want everyone to sit up at attention. The president is in the White House now. Everyone sit up at attention. You know, this is getting crazier by the day. Afterwards, he said he didn't mean it. He meant that it was not you. He meant the people in the White House. But that's a little worrisome. The guy is like now he admires Kim Jong-un. He's going to bring him to my country. That's like inviting Hitler to the White House. There are slave labor camps over there. What has happened to the conservative movement? There is none. There never was one. It was an invention, a creation. Now, I come to understand something the more I listen to what's going on in this country, that I am really the only non-GMO talker in the United States of America. What do I mean by non-GMO? You see it on every package. You don't know what it means, but it's good for you, right? It's like gluten-free. You know, I'm a non-GMO talker in radio, non-government modified organism. I basically am a rebel. I'm rebelling against what I see going on. I don't like it on either side. I can't take it anymore. I'm not going to take it anymore. Now, I know that Trump is our first non-alcohol drinking president since Coolidge, I think, whoever he was. You say Coolidge, I don't know, the Kool-Aid. But everyone else drank. I mean, you look back, everyone else drank. I mean, he drinks Diet Coke. I was in the White House with him. The red button flashed. He pressed it. I thought he started a nuclear war. He said, no, I'm ordering a Diet Coke. You want one? Okay. I'm drinking a Diet Coke now because I like aspartame. I know I'm supposed to know better because I have a PhD in nutrition. I wrote the books on. I love aspartame. If it works for the president, it certainly works for me. I find it to be a great antidepressant. It's the anti-Bourdain and anti-Kate Spade sweetener. First president that I can remember to not drink booze. Now, let's look back. You got Obama. What would he have had? Guarantee he drank Chardonnay with the girls, right? As a young man, he used marijuana and coke, drank heavily, used to smoke, probably smoked during his entire tenure in the White House, and they hid that one because there was no one watching. Well, what did he drink? I would say, So Trump drinks Diet Coke. He drinks a lot of them, a lot of Diet Coke, like by the container load. Okay, so Obama was a Chardonnay with the girls kind of guy. Before him was Bush. Oh, no, he didn't drink because he gave it up, right? Because he was a boozer in his youth. Known to have used Coke prior to 1974. And then he said he had no alcohol for okay, Clinton, what did he drink? We can't say, it's a family show. He said he did smoke marijuana, but he didn't inhale. He said he didn't have sex with that woman, even though it was oral sex. There are rumors that he didn't drink. What does he drink, Clinton? George H.W. Bush. No one knows what he drank. He was so straight. That guy was like an iron rod. If he drank, it would be like, I would think, one scotch a year. Ronald Reagan drank only occasionally in small amounts. That's what they say. Jimmy Carter. Oh, man, no drinking for him. We don't really know, maybe a little bit. Gerald Ford, always tripping, gin and tonic. Probably a heavy gin and tonic, along the lines of others. Richard Nixon was a frequent drinker, particularly in the evening. Someone knows what he actually used. No one knows what he actually used. But I would think if it was Richard Nixon, he would be drinking something like mint juleps. Lyndon Johnson, big Texan, not known to drink, social drinker. But if he drank, what would he have drank? John F. Kennedy, we know he took testosterone to treat his Addison's disease, but not to increase his testosterone for sexual reasons. Some associates of John F. Kennedy said he used LSD and marijuana. Also enjoyed cigar smoking, drank. His father was a boozer. His father was a bootlegger, made most of the family fortune during Prohibition as a drug dealer selling bootleg liquor. But I don't know what Kennedy drank. Eisenhower, and I think of Eisenhower D-Day, say Eisenhower D-Day. He would have had like rye, He would have had like a flask of rye. Harry Truman dropped 2 bombs on Japan, drank in moderation. Now, if Harry Truman drank, it would have been bourbon, for sure bourbon, absolute. Like 1 bourbon a month, something like that. But getting back to what I'm talking about, I'm doing this on purpose. I'm on strike right now. I'm not talking about collusion. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'll pull a Kate Spade if I have to talk about the FBI today. I'm not doing it. I won't do it. I refuse. I refuse. I'm not going to do this. I can't take another day of this. Isn't your brain fatigued from this? Aren't you fatigued from this day in and day out? No, you can't get enough of it. This is the problem. I'm telling you what's going on. I've been in this business a quarter of a century. That's a long time. My opinions count. The brain of the average talk radio listener has been so warped by the FBI collusion Mueller Trump thing that they don't want to hear anything else. So 50% of the audience left. They just disappeared. They won't listen to it at all anymore. They're listening to music. They're walking around pods in their ears, going to YouTube, whatever. They don't want to hear this garbage anymore. So the 50% who were left from before this all started, I would say 50% of the 50% can't get, and only want to hear this. That's all they want to hear. Nothing but collusion. That's all they want to hear. Trump, Mueller, FBI, FBI, Trump, Mueller, FBI, FBI, Trump, Mueller, Manafort arrested, Trump, Mueller, Mueller, Trump, Mueller, Trump, can't get enough. That's not, so they want to hear that. So that's 25% of the 50% of the 50%. All I want to hear. Now there's the other 50% of the 25% of the 50% who are my listeners who want to hear anything but Mueller and collusion, right? So I'm in a rough spot here. What do you want me to do now every day? Get up and talk about this every day? I can't do it. My brain is going numb on it. I'll leave that to others. Manafort jail, Rudy floats pardon, President rips FBI scum. Okay. What else do we have to say about it? Nothing. We've heard it all. When is it going to end? When can this end already? When can Mueller be put in jail? I've been asking, when can they put handcuffs on Mueller and arrest him for not doing the proper job? The man went past his mandate. He went after the mandate. Now they're investigating people for having sneezed on a mule's behind in a zoo. Sneezed on a mule's behind in a zoo in Singapore. Therefore, we're investigating him. You're under arrest. What about the Russia investigation, Mueller? What Russia investigation? What are you talking about? That's what you were given the mandate to do. Oh, that was a long time ago. I'm having too much fun doing this. That's all. So I don't know. What do you want me to do? FBI? You know the whole story already. You heard the whole story already. We know Trump's going to get away with this because he never did anything. We know Mueller's going to keep spending money till they take him out in handcuffs and put him in a bug house. Because power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Mueller is an example of absolute power having corrupted, absolutely. He is absolutely corrupted, totally gone. Democrats have no candidates. Well, there was the old schmuck, Bernie Sanders, the old seltzer man peddling old Marxism. So we're like, what percent of the audience are going to vote for Pol Pot? Pol Pot with a seltzer bottle. What percent of American people vote Pol Pot from Brooklyn? I mean, Vermont. Now he's in Vermont. He's doing very well in Manhattan, living on people's couches, moved to Vermont, gave people the BS about communism. Somehow it's sold in Vermont, became a senator, then became a this, then became a that. Now he wants to be president. He's not going to be leading the parade. So who's going to run against Trump in 2020? Nobody. Trump wins. That's over. That's the end of the story. It's over. There's nobody. Don't tell me about Kamala Harris. She has as much chance as a camel from Harris to win. A camel from Harris, Pennsylvania has as much appeal as Kamala Harris to be president. So she's not running. No one ever heard of her. They ran her up the flagpole. The flagpole fell down. So who's left? There's nobody. They're looking for the next Obama. It ain't happening. There is no another Obama. Thank God for term limits. So that's the thing. I mean, Schumer said it all at the end of the day. I was going to play this for you to open the show. I may as well. Schumer said it all right at the beginning. I may as well play for you clip number 1 in the Savage Nation.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this. They are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking. Without the intelligence community, we wouldn't have discovered it.
There is no hacking, you schmuck. It's like schmaltz. This guy has schmaltz in his brain. So here we go. That was then, this is now. Take on the intelligence community. You have 6 ways. They have 6 ways from Sunday to getting back at you. I don't even know what that means. Where did that phrase come from, 6 ways from Sunday? Why couldn't there be 7 ways from Sunday to get back at you? So you're saying, watch out, they're going to get you. Well, sure they're going to get you, because if they want to indict a ham sandwich, they can, Chuck, with help from scum like you. So let me tell you something. This is how afraid Trump is of the intelligence community. He called them FBI scum. That's how afraid he is of them. President Trump unloads on Comey scum on top of FBI a day after damning IG reports release. See, now I'm doing it, just what I said I wouldn't do it. He's so happy right now. He called them scum. That's what he did. He just said they had the scum on the top of the FBI. He said the FBI agents love him. He's a good guy. They're good guys, good girls. And now Comey is scum. He said, if you took a poll at the FBI, I would win, Trump told Fox and Friends. I mean the real FBI, not the scum on top. That's nice. Very presidential. Very good. That's really leading the people in the right direction. Call them scum. That's going to raise the dialogue now. Okay, good. Now we're going way up there, going way up on the intelligence scale now. The IG report also focused on political bias within the Bureau, specifically referring to FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. We know about them. They were lovers. They hated them. They should be charged, by the way, with a crime. This is not a joke. See, here's the problem. We, the people, know that these people in the FBI hated Trump. They try to do everything to undermine him. They should go to jail for this. This is not just a joke of opinion. They're supposed to be unbiased. Federal Bureau of what? Instigation. Now, I'm giving you a choice. I opened the show by telling you I wouldn't do this. Now I'm doing it. Why? I told you. 50% of the talk radio audience left about a year ago. They couldn't take any more of it. And not just my audience, everyone. I don't care what they tell you. Oh, yeah, we're doing great. We've never made more money. Thank you very much for buying my rug, my haircut. Thank you for buying my earrings. Thank you for buying my website. Thank you for buying this. Thank you for going to my website. Thank you for voting for me. There's no show left anymore. So 50% of the audience left a year ago. Of the 50% that's left listening to talk radio, 25% are brainwashed and all they want to hear is FBI and collusion. Then there's another 25% of the 50% that wants to hear something else. Welcome to the Savage Nation.
Savage.
Welcome back. So I'd rather talk about donkeys are being stolen and skinned in Africa to feed Chinese. The demand for their impotence. Let me ask you something. Why do the Chinese want to destroy every endangered species on the planet for impotence? How many different animals can they wipe off the planet to treat impotence? They never heard of Viagra? Can't someone start a fund to raise money for Viagra for Chinese over there in China so they stop killing endangered species? Donkeys stolen and skinned in Africa to feed Chinese demand. It's getting me sick. They find 3 bloody severed donkey heads lying on the ground in a little village in Kenya. Donkeys were the latest victims of a black market for donkey skins, the key ingredient to the Chinese health fad that's threatening donkeys that Africans rely on for farm work. From Kenya to Egypt to Nigeria, animal rights groups say agents are seeking to feed China's insatiable appetite for a gelatin that they use that purports to provide health benefits. Can you imagine this? I mean, there's not enough Chinese on the planet. What do they need health benefits for? Well, what is this about? How can this go on in this day and age? That they can slaughter every endangered species and every working animal on the planet because they want to get an erection. Eat this for a long life, lose weight, and get more energy, reads a slogan printed on the side of a hotel dedicated to gelatin, donkey gelatin tourism. I'm getting sick of all of this. I know all you want to hear is deep throat, deep state. I get it. How we've gone from deep throat to deep state in one generation. That's a Savage original. Write it down. Now, Deep Throat's not a reference to anything to do with anything but politics, because Deep Throat was the anonymous supplier of information to Woodward and Bernstein during Watergate, right? Deep Throat. So we've gone from Deep Throat to deep state in one generation. When you have to start explaining your jokes, they're no good. So what I'm going to do now is just read you some of the stuff that the FBI agents were found to have written. They hated Trump, and they hated themselves. They hated the job. They put Trump down. There are 5 agents now who should be in prison, by the way. And they're saying, what would you rather do than spend time with the Trump supporters? The guy said, I'd rather stick my tongue in a fan. Another agent said, I would rather have brunch with Trump and a bunch of his supporters like the ones from Ohio that are retarded. This is really wonderful. How's that for the new FBI? Oh, God. But nothing's going to happen to them. They got their pensions. The girl already bailed out, the girl lover, Strozak's girlfriend, whatever. She resigned, retired, so she got the pension, so she knows what's coming. These other guys are liable to wind up in prison. I mean, is this a crime, by the way? If an FBI agent who's supposed to be objective reveals in emails or instant messaging that they're biased against the candidate, they hate him, they're going to undermine him, we're going to stop his presidency, is that not a crime? Strozak and Page were romantically involved, both served for a short period of time on Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation team. Strozak was reassigned following revelations. Page resigned from the Bureau last month. Okay, I'm telling you, there's something so big here. This is much bigger than Watergate. I get it. I know you want to hear about it. But how much more can I say about it? If Trump is president, which he is, and Sessions is the head of the Justice Department, which controls the FBI, why is Sessions not immediately arresting these FBI agents for collusion? Because this is the real collusion, right? Clint, is this not collusion? If you have in writing FBI agents saying definitively they're going to stop his presidency, they hate him, isn't that collusion? Yes or no? Of course it is. Why is nothing happening? I don't know. Trump has the power to have them arrested. He could order the Justice Department to arrest them and investigate them for collusion to interfere with an election. This is the real collusion. It's not Russia. Adam Schiff should know he's the real colluder. Adam Schiff and Schumer and the entire Democrat Party are the real colluders here. It's not Russia. It was always a scam. Well, when I come back, we have a candidate who wants to run for the governorship of California, Mr. Cox, and he's going to be on for a few minutes to talk about how he might defeat Gavin Newsom. You may think it's impossible to defeat the Democrat machine candidate. Let's find out from Mr. Cox on the Savage Nation.
Savage.
With Giuliani, I think they dried him out. He was coherent for 2 days. He actually made sense. First, he was going to have him testify before Mueller, then he didn't, then he was, then he wasn't. So for 2 days now, Giuliani's been consistent saying, oh, no, that'd be crazy to testify before Mueller. They must have kept him off the hooch for a while. My God. Unbelievable. So we've gone from deep throat to deep state in one generation. And we find out that the deep state under the FBI hated Trump from the beginning. And they did collude to keep him from being president, undermine him. They said they'd stop him. One was said, what would you rather do than spend time with Trump voters? He said, I'd rather stick my tongue in a fan, which is a funny line. Actually, I never heard that one. I'm going to use that with callers I don't like. You know, go stick your tongue in a fan. That's a good one. An old guy in radio years ago used to say, go gargle with razor blades. I wouldn't say that. I changed the go gargle with Rogaine. Remember, that was an old one from 15 years ago. I may say, go stick your tongue in a fan. So here we are, another Friday. You want me to talk about the IG report? No, not doing it. I did it already, actually. I said I'm not doing it, but I did it. That's a new trick I'm using. Because you have to do it, to stay relevant. You want me to talk about donkey skins and Chinese? Why are they killing every endangered species on the planet, every working animal, to feed their madness for health and longevity and erections? What is going on? What is with China? Never heard of Viagra and a healthy diet? Look at this article. Muslim family claims Red Lobster employees discriminated against them over Ramadan requests. And the troublemakers at the Council on American Islamic Relations. Attention, Donald Trump. Attention, Donald Trump. Look into the CAIR gangster regime. They filed a complaint against this restaurant saying they want remedial action, written apology. They want to provide training. What did they do wrong there, actually? What actually happened? Some Muslims came in after Ramadan and wanted a glass of water. They didn't get it fast enough, so that's racism now. Are you listening to this? A Muslim family came in. They asked for water because they were waiting to break their fast. They hadn't received any after 30 minutes. That's now racism in this country of ours? Look, Donald Trump, listen to me. The Minnesota chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations is the organization suing this great chain. This is sickening. This is just sickening. If you don't like Red Lobster, don't eat there. What do you mean you waited long for water? I go to a restaurant, I don't get water. I've asked sometimes I waited 30 minutes because they're busy. It's not because I'm me. They don't have the time to give you a glass of water when you want it. But CARE wants compensation for the discriminatory treatment. And they want Red Lobster to update its anti-harassment, and they want all employees of the chain to take sensitivity training with instructor approved by this rat organization, CAIR Minnesota. I'm sick of this. It is unconscionable that a family seeking to observe their religious principles would be so harshly treated by those paid to serve the public and who are legally bound to offer that service without discrimination. CARE Minnesota civil rights attorney Ellen Longfellow said in a press release. I know Orthodox Jews don't go into Red Lobster. They don't eat lobster and shrimp. They go to a Jewish deli if they want to get treated properly. They get a glass of water. First of all, if an Orthodox Jew goes in a Jewish deli, they're treated worse than anyone going into a Red Lobster because they're ignored by the deli man. What do you think? He brings water to them because they're Jewish? There's some secret hand signal? It's crazy, the country we're living in. Well, let's go to politics for a few minutes. We have John Cox on the line, who will be running for the governorship of the state of California, which is a very big deal because the Democrat machine is putting forward a candidate named Gavin Newsom, and he's a shoo-in, so they think. But John did very well in the primaries. John Cox, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hey, Michael. Great to be with you.
John, in the primaries, what percent of the vote did you attract?
I think it was about 27 by the last count. They're still counting votes. You know, they got a whole bunch.
All right, so you got 27%, but some other Republican candidates got like 13 and 5%, didn't they?
One guy got about 9%, 9 or 10%, yeah.
All right, so let's say we add the 9 or 10 to your 27. You now have 37. What's going to happen if you run straight up against Newsom? How can you get Republicans to even care? Because most of them are defeated and think you can't win.
Well, don't forget, you know, there's a whole bunch of decline the state voters. And, you know, Michael, there are a whole bunch of Democrats, too, that are sick and tired of the management of the state. This state is basically unaffordable for most people. 2/3, 70% of people in the state are looking to get the heck out because...
Wait. You come on, John. You can't fix that. You're not going to change housing prices. No candidate can do that.
Oh, yes, I can. I'll tell you what. First of all, we're going to repeal the gas tax. That's going to be on the ballot. I led that effort. And we're going to bring down the cost of gasoline with that. We're going to get rid of some of these ridiculous rules, by the way, as well, along with it.
Wait. Let's start from the top. Let's say you can motivate the silent majority in California, the people who actually vote and pay taxes, not the illegal aliens and the radicals who vote for Democratic candidates. The state is projected to have a multi-billion-dollar surplus. Why is Jerry Brown not returning that to the people he took it from, meaning the high earners? Why is he not returning any of that money to us?
Because he wants to buy votes with that money. He wants to hand out more and more money to the constituencies to buy votes. He doesn't care about the people who work every day. He doesn't care about the people who are paying $5 a gallon for gasoline. He just cares about making sure that his Democrats can buy votes, and that's what they're doing with it.
But if you were governor, let's say you won the election. Let's say you pull off a long shot victory and you win the election. What would you do with the top 1% of earners, of which I am a member, in the state, who are thinking of leaving because I won't pay any more of these exorbitant criminal taxation? I'm paying 13 to 15% state tax. You know that, John.
And it's not deductible, Michael. I know that, too.
That is right. Trump eliminated the deductions for us in California and in New York State. What would you do for us? I'm talking about this one demographic.
I am going to start spending money efficiently. This budget is easy.
Wait. But you're not answering my question. Would you lower the tax burden on the top 1%?
I'm going to lower taxes across the board. We're going to get rid of the gas tax. That's a given. But we're also going to spend money efficiently. Michael, this budget...
No, but you're still not answering my question. Lowering taxes across the board, John, is wonderful. But I'm talking about those of us who were hit the hardest, and that's a discriminatory taxation. Don't you think we deserve a tax break immediately?
40 to 50% of the income tax is paid by people who are making a lot of money. You're absolutely right. So if I cut taxes, if I cut the income tax rate from 13% down to 8 or 7 or 6, that's going to be a tax break for those people in those brackets. But
so you're saying you would cut the state tax? Wait, you would say you'd cut the state tax to 8% or 7% across the board, is what you're saying?
All the way down across the board, though. I mean,
well, that makes sense. I understand. That would be so great. California would boom. We'd have the biggest boom in history.
Hey, listen, Michael. Florida and Texas have no state income tax at all. California has more oil, more cattle than Texas. We have more tourism and more retirees than Florida. How is it that they are able to fund their budgets? Because they have better political management. Our political management is all about corruption and buying votes and handing out money to the funders who fund the campaigns. That's what's going to change.
What about all the services that go to illegal aliens in this state? Why are we providing billions of dollars to illegal aliens other than to get them to vote Democrat? So how are you going to motivate the Republicans to come out and vote who have given up? How are you going to motivate the independents, John, to vote? How?
First of all, our polling tells me that I'm getting all Republicans. What I have to do is I have to decline the states and a lot of Democrats, and I'm going to get those, Michael, because they're sick of paying almost $5 a gallon for gasoline. They're sick of driving on crappy roads that are full of potholes and are crowded. They're sick of paying rent, $3,000 a month for a cracker box, one-bedroom apartment.
Well, I don't think you're going to. No, you can't control that. That's market-driven. But you certainly can change the tax base. But look at the top of the newspaper in the city that I live in, San Francisco. Am I in the bad part of town? Tourists shocked by SF streets with drug needles on BART, drug needles in the street, bums out of control, violence, crime wave. What would you do about the bums in the streets of San Francisco, John?
Absolutely clean it out, by the way, and not going to put up with it. We got to enforce vagrancy laws. We got to get people help that are strung out on drugs and alcohol. We've got to make sure that we have homes that are built that are cost affordable. I'm in the housing business, Michael. I build apartments for $80,000 a unit in Indiana. Here in the Bay Area, it's $700,000. And it's not the land. The land is part of it, but the regulations, the litigation.
So the union regulations, the red tape, the handouts to all of the departments in the city, it drives. How much do you build them for in Indiana?
$80,000 a door, and you could build them. The price of land is more expensive in here, no question. But you could build apartments for $200,000 to $300,000, where they're now spending $500,000 to $600,000, because a lot of that is based upon regulations and litigations and a lot of.
That's a very good selling point, John. That's a great selling point. I think that makes sense. But what would you do about the bums in the streets who basically rule the streets? They're out of control in San Francisco. They're out of control in the city. They're out of control in many cities. But in San Francisco, John, they're out of control. They're violent, many of them. They're not just poor, downtrodden, homeless people. Many of them belong in a nut house.
A lot of them are strung out on drugs. A lot of them are alcoholics. And a lot of them are mentally ill. We got to get help to people. It is not compassionate to let people keep shooting up on the streets or just living in a box or some kind of tent on the street. That's not compassion. Compassion is actually doing something about it. So I don't want government warehousing them. I want to use private agencies, religious groups, non-religious groups, NGOs, groups that are dedicated to making sure these people get from addiction to being...
John, you do have a plan. How long has it been since we've had a Republican governor in California?
Well, Schwarzenegger was nominally a Republican. I'm not sure he was a strong Republican.
No, he turned over. His chief of staff was a lifetime Democrat. I forget her name, but she was a lifetime Democrat. His wife was a Democrat. Schwarzenegger was a fake Republican. Would you be more like a Reagan-like governor or more like a Schwarzenegger governor?
Reagan, all the way. I was on Jack Kemp's steering committee back in '87. That's the Reagan message. Entrepreneurship, individual responsibility, free markets, giving people a hand up, but not a hand out, Michael.
All right, so we would go back from being the man with the golden arm to the man with the golden state. And I want everyone to listen because John Cox is running against Gavin Newsom, who is allegedly a shoo-in as a Democrat candidate of choice, the machine candidate. John is the underdog. If everyone listening to the show wants the state to be righted, maybe they ought to think about an alternative to the machine candidate. John Cox will be hearing a lot more from you before the election. I want to thank you for being with us on the Savage Nation.
Thank you, Michael. Great to be with you. Let's do it again.
All right. See, that was a nice interview, short and sweet. And at least the man answered questions. He didn't weasel around it. Now, I would like to have Gavin Newsom on the show. I'd like to ask him the same questions. What would he do with the junkies? What would he do with the drug needles in the street? What would he do with the cost of living? I wonder, maybe he has an answer. I kind of don't think so. They have the same old answer, which is more taxation without representation. That's all. So that's simple. Well, we had John Cox on, and now we go back to the stories of the day. Now the hard stuff starts again. So I'm going to turn to the website that I have called michaelsavage.com in a minute. I'm going to read some of the stories. I'm going to invite you to call an open mic to Mike Friday. The phone number here, if you care to join the conversation, which is 855-407-282, 855-400-SAVAGE. And we can talk about politics. We can talk about all the stories on my website. We can talk about FBI. We can talk about Schumer. We can talk about Trump. We can talk about Comey. We can talk about why are the IQ levels falling for decades. What is the reason? We can talk about discrimination in America from those who are making up discrimination, discriminating against businesses. I'll be right back.
Savage.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Look, I've talked about Super Beets for a long time on the show for one reason. They work. It's a superfood, cardiovascular health, we know. But they made a new formula, and they added to it another superfood called green tea, right? It's called Super Beets Energy Plus. It's a great new product made from non-GMO beets, infused with an added boost from green tea extract. And if you've thought about trying green tea or trying Super Beets for healthy energy kick, this is the greatest product for you because it's a combination. Natural plant-based caffeine source, new version Super Beets Energy Plus. It's all new, natural berry flavor. It helps promote improved energy. It gives you more mental focus, supports a healthy cardiovascular system. You'll definitely feel the difference the green tea makes. Now, we're only making this product available to the listeners of our show, so make sure you take advantage of this new release today. Call 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or savagelovesbeets.com. And if you make that order right now, you're going to get a 30-day supply of Super Beets Energy Plus infused with green tea for free. You get one order, you get another order free. And then you get indicator strips to show you how it works in your body, and free shipping. Write it down. Call it 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to savagelovesbeets.com today. Well, look, we're almost out of time in this hour, and I think we're going to go to all of the news stories on my website, or just do the open mic to Mike Rock and Roll Friday today, because I've had enough with the collusion. The only collusion I could see out there is between the FBI, the Democrat Party, and the media. That's the only collusion I can see, personally. You can show me collusion with Russia. Give me a call and prove it to me, because I've been waiting for it for a long time now. Tell you what, call the show and show me the collusion with Russia. There is none. The only collusion is between the Democrat Party, the FBI, and the media. That's the collusion. Okay, when I talk about collusion, and there's a little more collusion. George Soros tried to destroy elections in America. It's a well-known fact. He spent millions of dollars, including in the state of California, on attorney general's races, trying to put in left-wing fanatics. Every one of his candidates lost. That was collusion. That was called manipulating elections. That was called trying to buy votes. If that's not a crime, I'd like to know what is. And here we are talking about an alleged collusion with Russia, which doesn't exist, while we know that Soros engaged in direct collusion in trying to warp elections in the United States of America for district attorneys. Did you hear me? This is the collusion you should be talking about in a sane nation. But I don't want to talk about collusion. I'd rather talk about donkey skins than collusion.
Savage. Warning, the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. Now, here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Welcome to the Savage Nation. Everyone sing along. Follow the bouncing, I can't use the phrase, it's a family show. But here we are, we're stuck. We have to talk about collusion and Mueller. Unless you do that, you're out of the radio business. And you have to stand and salute when the president speaks. You must stand and salute. That's what he said he wants. Then he said he was joking. Yeah, that was a nice one, that he's going to bring Kim Jong-un to America. If he brings Kim Jong-un to America, I'll tell you right now, I put my flag upside down. I protest. Mark my words. See if I. What if he invites me to be there? I don't go. You think I would go to the White House to salute a man who has 200,000 or God knows 2 million people in slave labor camps? What would that make me? You make me a complete and total liar. Nothing would ever have me support Kim Jong-un. Oh, I'm glad that there's no nukes being launched at Guam temporarily. But let's not get too carried away here about how wonderful a guy he is. He runs a tough country. He's a tough guy, tough people. He does the great thing. Does a great thing. He's a wonderful thing. He's a great man. He's a strong leader. Are you kidding me? How could you say a thing like this? That he's great, and he's wonderful, and he's tough in a tough country? I'm supposed to say great? What if Obama had said that Kim Jong-un is a great guy, strong, tough leader, great leader? Come on. Doesn't anyone have to say anything ever? Trump likes opinionated people who will say what they actually believe. Well, I'm saying what I actually believe. Don't bring Kim Jong-un to America. Don't bring him to the White House. It would be a disgrace to bring him to the White House. It would be like bringing Adolf Hitler to the White House in 1939. Now, I want to open the show up, and the phone number, I got to give it to you again, is 855-407-282. 855-400-SAVAGE. Can we talk about anything other than that? Or if you want to talk about that, the unnamed subject, I'll do it, just for a second. Chris on Casable wants to talk about collusion. Okay, Chris, you're on the air. Go ahead. What's your topic?
Dr. Weiner, I was just going to...
No, my name is Dr. Savage. What's the issue now, Chris?
What's that?
Where are you coming from? Who are you?
I'm in Oakland, California.
Yes. And what's your topic?
Well, you had just said, somebody please show me something about collusion, because there's no collusion. And I just wanted to remind you that recently jailed campaign manager Paul Manafort, son-in-law, and son all met with Russians connected to the Kremlin, specifically to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. And if that's collusion...
Well, so isn't that called opposition research? Cat got your tongue over there in Oakland? I thought that was called opposition research, something the Democrats engage in all the time. Doesn't the Democrat Party engage in opposition research on a regular basis?
They do, but not with a foreign adversary who is in the middle of...
Oh, what do you mean not a foreign adversary? Are you joking? Tell me about your man, Barack Hussein Obama, interfering with elections across Europe and in Israel. What was that called?
First of all, I voted for Trump, which I'm really ashamed of, because nobody who...
Yeah, you voted for Trump like my shoe voted for Trump.
Dr. Weiner, I just...
Look, Chris, if you're going to keep up the game playing, I'm going to throw you off my show. I'm going to tell you to go stick your tongue in a fan rather than calling the show again. Show some respect, fool. Get off my show. In fact, take a walk. Go back to Oakland and go into the gang-ridden neighborhoods and tell them how much you love them. You know what I want to talk about rather than this crap? Not collusion, because there is no collusion. First of all, you want me to talk about that for another second? I have to get this off my chest. Manafort was arrested today by a biased judge appointed by the most biased president in the history of the nation. Barack Obama put this judge on the bench. This judge arrested Manafort on the allegations, not upon the proven fact that he committed a crime. She threw him in jail on an allegation, which is astounding. It's right out of the Soviet Union. If you look at what Manafort was arrested on, and I don't know Manafort, I'm not here to defend Manafort, I'm here to uphold the law and uphold the American way. He was not arrested for a crime. He was arrested by an Obama judge for allegedly doing something without evidence. Judge sends Manafort to jail after Mueller charges witness tampering. But there was no proof of it. What did he actually do? Where is the proof that he tampered with a witness? There is no proof. Why did he send him to jail without proof? What kind of country am I living in? Now, that leads us to the issue of jail. I am currently obsessed with one television show called Surviving Escobar. It was written by a former assassin who survived Escobar's tenure as the number one supplier of cocaine, the number one killer of Colombians and others in Colombia. He set off a war like Colombia had never seen. And first I watched the Escobar series on Netflix, then I watched this. This is like 50 segments on this Surviving Escobar. It's set in the prison in Colombia, I believe. No, Colombia probably. And it's during the era post-Escobar. And it shows his assassin, his number one assassin, played by a young I guess, Colombian actor who is reminiscent of a young Robert De Niro in the early days of the Godfather movies, but a far better actor, far more believable than De Niro is. And what I'm kind of watching is life in a lawless prison where the guards have ceded control to the prisoners. The top rung of the prisoners have bedrooms, bedroom sets, bureaus. They have meals brought in. They have people cooking for them. They have all the women they want brought in. They have parties. They have booze. And I'm asking myself, how far are we away from this in the United States of America with so many people incarcerated and so few people in prison? But it leads us to another question. Who listening to this show as a man, hold it, don't turn the dial, has not asked himself, how would you survive if you were thrown into a prison? I'm asking a hard question that's very, very hard for you to accept. Is there a man listening to this show who has never thought about it? Would you survive in prison? Would you have to become someone's wife in order to survive in prison? Is that a necessity? Well, I'm going to tell you a story. There was a man here in Marin County who used to own a mortgage company 15 years ago when I started in radio, 20, I don't know when. It's a long time ago. Anyway, got caught in some swindle thing. They put him in San Quentin, and he survived it. He came out after serving his time and opened a yogurt shop. They serve good yogurt, by the way. I had him on the show 15 years ago, and I said to him, if I may say, Woody, how did you survive in San Quentin? Did you have to do what every man fears he would have to do to survive in prison? He said, absolutely not, Michael. I said, well, what'd you do? He said, if you have literate skills and you go into a prison and you could use those skills of reading, writing, studying law books, writing correspondence, etc., for one of the people who are running the thing, you have nothing to fear. He said, that's what I did. Now, that was an interesting statement. But how many of you think you could survive prison if you were thrown into a world that none of us could understand how it works? It's a different society. There's no rules in the society, fundamentally. They write their own rules, their own laws, the law of the jungle, absolute law of the jungle. And I think this is why I'm kind of obsessed with the program, because I like reality. Even though it's fiction, it's fictionalized reality, which is closer to the reality than the reality that we are shown, which is all fiction. Does that make sense to you? So let me ask you a question in the audience. Is there anyone listening to this program who was a typical middle-class white guy who went to prison and survived without becoming somebody's sissy? How did you do it? What did you have to do? What did you have to do to survive in that prison? That's what I'd like to know. Now, I could call my attorney, Dan Horowitz. Dan is a man who represents white-collar criminals. Dan also represents, without me divulging who, some of the hardest people in the world in some of the worst prisons in America on a regular basis. And I can't even divulge half of it because I don't know the half of it. And he's told me some pretty shocking stories. I said, Dan, aren't you afraid to go in to represent some of these people, the head of these gangs? He said, absolutely not. I said, why? He said, because there's a unwritten law in prison that you never touch an attorney. Remember, the attorneys are the only road they have to freedom. So there's an unwritten law, you don't ever attack an attorney. He said, let me tell you what happened. One inmate attacked his attorney once. The next day was found with his eyes carved out from a pencil because the rule is don't touch attorneys. He said, I'm safer than you can imagine. So this is what I'm talking about. How would you survive a thing like that? How did you survive a thing like that? Or do you want to talk about Kim coming to America? If Kim comes to America, I hang my flag upside down. It's that simple. Well, that's the opening to hour number 2 in the Savage Nation. I haven't gotten to the donkey skin thing yet. You think I was joking. Donkeys are being stolen and skinned in Africa to feed the Chinese demand for some health tonic again. First, the African tusks wipe out that species. Now the donkeys stolen from farmers who use them to carry water. Is there something inherently crazy about Chinese culture that we should know about, that they have to slaughter every animal on the earth? Endangered species are going, and we're not supposed to say anything for fear we'll be called insensitive if we point this out. Do you people have any idea what's being done to the wildlife of the earth because of the insatiable demand? I hope you do. You can read all about it on michaelsavage.com. We'll talk about any topic you'd like right here on the Savage Nation.
Savage.
But let me just go back to the calls in 1 minute. I can't say this is a Manafort. Okay, so Mueller, the out-of-control prosecutor, today throws Manafort in jail. His bail is revoked, and he's jailed for what? Listen very carefully. Try to be objective. He's thrown in jail for alleged attempted witness tampering. So think about those words. Alleged attempted witness tampering. No proof. It's alleged. It's attempted witness tampering without proof. That is like indicting a ham sandwich. Now, for you progressives to celebrate that means you are celebrating Nazism. You're celebrating a police state which will come back to bite you. There's not a liberal lawyer in America who would not agree with me that throwing someone in jail or revoking their bail for alleged attempted anything is a crime unto itself. That's the kind of judge that Obama put in power, are these third world throwback mentalities. But the topic I really want to talk about is the jail thing. That's what I'm interested in. And I'm asking lily white guys who might go in for white-collar crimes, how do you think you would survive? Or have you been in and how did you survive? Because all the skills that you had on the outside, the financial skills, the manipulation skills, the this skill, that skill, have no meaning whatsoever in that other world, that underworld. You talk about the subterraneans. You want to read Dostoevsky all over again if you're an intellectual. You'll understand what the prison system is in this country. I don't care what country you're in. It's a different universe. So as I said, I'm kind of watching the one surviving Escobar where he goes into that prison and he's vying with other gangs. One are communist guerrillas. They have a gang leader. He's in the narco wing of narco terrorists. They have their other gang thing. So you have the narco terrorist wing in this Colombian jail at this time. Then you have the communist guys who want to cause a revolution. Then you have another one, and they're all vying for power on what they're doing to each other, how they set things up. The script is so brilliantly written, it's hard to believe compared to the garbage that Americans think is well written. I happen to love Mexican television. It's astounding how well it's done. Even though it's set in Colombia, I think it's a Mexican production. I'm pretty sure it is. Way beyond anything you would imagine. The women are gorgeous. The sets are astounding. The dialogue is off the charts great. And no one ever heard of it. So I'm asking you again, since I'm interested in this topic, and I think I have a very large audience of people who are incarcerated across America, incidentally, by what I've heard. Rob is calling on WABC. Rob, what's your topic, please?
Hi, how you doing, Dr. Savage? I'm calling, I'm middle-class, blue-collar guy. I got caught up in an incident, and I ended up in the prison system for about 2 years.
Yeah, and what happened?
Well, you go in there, and, it's basically survival of the fittest. I mean, at the end of the day, as a white male, you're the minority in the prison system. So you walk into it, it's a whole other world in there. A lot of gang affiliations and different gangs.
So did you have to join a white gang to survive?
No, I did not. No, not. I just you try to keep to yourself, but you know what? You get the some of the other gangs they see you come in there, and unfortunately, the prison that I went to, you had a lot of white males that had drug dependency problems and stuff like that, and they were getting extorted up, and they would end up.
So you didn't have to do anything odd to survive. You just did your time. I think he's breaking up. I didn't really get much out of that call, to be honest. I wanted to, but there was nothing. There was no there. Is there anyone calling who was actually in prison who can tell us a story and how you had to survive? I mean, that's what the people are listening for. If they want to hear anything, it's like, okay, how did you do it? But I want to also talk about Trump wanting to bring Kim Jong-un to this country. That's the worst thing I ever heard in my life. Charles on KSFO, talk about that for a minute from your point of view.
Yes, Michael, I've heard you since and enjoyed listening to you since 94.
All right, fine, great. But what's your point today?
Well, I think maybe if somebody had invited Hitler over to the White House, he might not have done some of the terrible things he did. I
see. If only the Jews had accepted Hitler, they wouldn't have been put into the ovens?
No. But maybe some sort of diplomacy with him would have changed his...
Oh, if Hitler came over and had a nice Diet Coke over here with FDR, he wouldn't have killed all those people?
I don't.
Are you serious? How long have you been living up in the woods there in Eugene, Oregon, that you could actually come up with a thought like that? I mean, you're slipping, Charles. If you think that Kim would be a nice guy if he was accepted by other countries after he's putting hundreds of thousands of people to their death, slave labor camps, the people are eating straw, how could you say a thing like that? It just shows you what happens when you live in a bubble of your own and you don't ever talk to anybody but your newt.
Savage.
So here we are, we're talking about prisons for some reason, because I'm interested in the subject, and I'm watching that thing, Surviving Escobar, and you ask yourself, how? And there's like subtext, like the news reporters, the women, the Colombian reporters go into the jail to interview this guy, and one of them gets raped and almost killed. And, you know, it makes you understand it. I've seen movies about rape victims, but this one touched me more. I couldn't even sleep last night of what they did to her and what it did to her mind and how long it took her to recover from rape. And if you know what I'm saying? I think that the productions are better in the third world. In this case, if you want to call it that, I think Mexican productions are more poignant than what I'm seeing in American movies today. Somehow they're grittier. Somehow they get down to the core of human emotions in a more profound manner. I just, my observation. And this whole thing about prisons, how would you survive in it? You hear about a guy being put in jail today, right? Manafort, bail revoked in jail for alleged attempted witness tampering. That's like indicting a ham sandwich. I've never seen anything like this, but that's what you'd get from a Stalinist judge appointed by Barack Obama. Alleged attempted witness tampering. No evidence, just alleged, just attempted witness tampering. That means anyone in America could be thrown in prison for alleged attempted anything. And I don't know if a lawyer listening to the show wouldn't agree with me, particularly liberals or those who actually know the law. This is crazy. But it does bring up the subject of jails. The country now is becoming so lawless under the judges put in place by Obama and their disrespect for the law, their disrespect and hatred for anyone who voted for Trump, that any one of us could be framed and thrown into prison. How would you survive? You think you'd all go to some white country club in Danbury? I don't know. Where would you go? What prison do you think they're going to put you in? You think you have the connections to go to Danbury or some country club? What if you get thrown into a regular jail and you're like a 55, 60-year-old white guy? What are you going to do to survive? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. KSFO, Nick is a correctional officer in a maximum security prison. Nick, welcome to the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Michael. Yeah, I worked as a maximum security juvenile prison officer for about 2.5 years in the great blue state of Illinois. And truthfully, I had to get out because I did not actually survive. I couldn't survive. I thought to myself daily what it would be like to be an inmate, and I just knew I couldn't physically do it, emotionally do it, mentally do it. It seemed impossible. You mean watching the juveniles behave with each other? Yeah, a lot of the behavior with them interacting with each other was just absolutely out of control. But what a lot of people don't understand, too, about prison is you think you can just go inside and isolate yourself, get away, avoid everybody. The thing is, there is no avoiding anything because there's constant inmate movement. The inmates go from one building to the next. The inmates have to. That's when you get. That's when you get the shiv job. That's when you get the homemade knife out of a toothbrush. Yeah, right. All right. Well, that's people don't understand this, and it's an important topic today because when you see you have a rogue judge appointed by Obama revoking Manafort's bail and thrown in jail for, quote, alleged attempted witness tampering. This story has a double meaning now. What do you mean alleged attempted? What do you mean alleged attempted? They could say to anyone listening to the show, we're going to throw you in jail, we're arresting you for alleged attempted fill in the blank. I don't know how this is going on while the whole world is watching. Look into the judge appointed by Obama. You'll see the answer. KSFO, Joe, line 1, topic, what's up?
I just wanted to say, when you go into prison, you pretty much have to band with people from your own race. I mean, that's just the truth. It's hard, to be on your own.
So a Mexican has to join the Norteños or the Southerners. A white guy has to join. You mean a white guy has to join what gang?
Pretty much, if you have to hang with the white people, you can't really not do it. You have. Do they really want you, or they want everybody just because they're white? I don't think so. It's like the Groucho Marx. It's like the Groucho Marx joke. I wouldn't want to join a club that would have me. I mean, you think they want everybody just because they're white? No, but you would have white groups that would accept you in who you are. All
right, so let's say when you say white group, you're thinking white supremacist groups, Nazis, right?
No, there's not just white supremacists. I mean, there's white intellectuals, and I was in federal prison, so there were more educated white people who were criminals in federal prison. I mean, they were,
and they had a gang. They had a gang, like white intellectual gang.
Well, they had to unite. You can't be by yourself in prison. You have to.
So in other words, it's like you hang around with a group. In other words, it's like, so you can hang around with white intellectuals. What do you talk about, Dostoevsky? When you're white intellectuals, what do you do? How do you defend yourself against, let's say, a white gang that's not intellectual, just wants to take your lunch?
You have to stand up for yourself. I mean, you can't be how do I say this? I know I'm on radio. You just can't.
No, I understand. You can't be a wuss. Let's use an old word. You can't be a weakling. You got to stand up. Okay. But that standing up is nothing compared to guys who know how to really kill. Standing up means nothing. Standing up and boxing someone, that's not going to help you survive. You have to be a killer to survive, don't you?
You're just going to get picked on. You're going to be that weak link that everybody wants.
What does a Jewish person do in a prison? They're going to join a white supremacist gang?
No, they just hang with.
I don't know. Okay, that's what I want to know. Is there a Jewish gangster in the audience or a Jewish criminal who was incarcerated? What gang did you have to join? First of all, there's a lot of like Orthodox rabbis caught in scams, whether it be this scam, that welfare scam. I mean, they do throw them in the can. I've seen it over and over again in New York. One after the other, they take them and throw them in. So what, they have their own group, right? Their own prison or what? With the kosher food? There's Muslim gang, Jewish gang, now sub-gangs, gay gangs, stray gangs, pray gangs. Think about that, the pray gangs. That'd be the Christians who pray. I think you could join a pray. You could join a stray gang. I don't know what you'd have to do, but I was talking about a guy who went in and simply assigned himself to the toughest guy in the jail and became not his girlfriend. That's what everyone thinks. That's the popular thing, is you have to, do those things. But he said, no, nobody bothered me because I was his, let's say, law clerk, for want of a better term, in those days. He read the law books. He wrote the appeals for to go to the judge, to the lawyer, work with the lawyer, sent missives out to the press or whatever. So, in other words, if you have a quantifiable skill to offer to one of the top guys, you're basically going to work for him. That's what he said. And I believe he was in San Quentin, incidentally. By the way, that's an interesting one. Is there anyone calling with a really interesting story out there? KSFO, Barry, line 2. What prisons were you in Barry?
I was in the L.A. County MAX system, and I was in their Loma Prieta campment, and then I was in a Mexican slammer in Hermosillo, and I never had much of a problem because I was a hero within the prison. I had people in those places that knew me by reputation. I had money, and I had a classy way of committing my crimes. So I didn't cope with that. I was never challenged, and I was big.
Wait. Hold on, Barry. You got me interested now. What do you mean you had a classy way of committing crimes? So you were a white-collar criminal and everyone kind of knew who you were before you went in?
No, I had friends who were already in the slammer for other crimes associated to mine. So I had a clique to walk into. But they weren't a dominant clique. They were just an intelligent bunch of guys.
Well, how did they survive when the really physically tough, vicious people wanted something from them? What did they do?
Nobody challenged me.
Nobody challenged you? Why?
Well, I was also a big guy. I'm 6'2", 220, muscular at the time. I'm younger by 40 years now. This goes back to the 70s, and I had a lot of I had friends who were in my distribution.
No, but you're saying, Barry, you were smart, but you're also physically tough.
So I was a hero. I was a flyer. I was flying.
Did you say a fighter?
Nobody wanted to touch me because they saw that A, I had an enforcer, and B, I had enforcers both in and out, and C, I had a lot of money. I had jobs I could offer people.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so I hear what you're saying. So let's bring it up to today. You're listening to the news. You're listening to talk radio. You're listening to the show. What are you listening for in talk radio, a guy like you who's been through a lot of hell and is tough as nails, been in there, come out? What do you listen for in talk radio? I'm very curious.
About when I was between my 25th and my 35th birthday. In those years, that's I'm.
I didn't hear a word I said. Jim, can you help me with this?
100% conservative.
All right. Why do you listen to talk radio? Is what I was asking.
I am listening to it because it shores up my belief that something is being done to straighten out this country.
Okay. So when you wake up today and see that a judge appointed by Obama revoked the bail of Manafort and jailed him for, quote, alleged attempted witness tampering. What does that say to you? Alleged attempted witness tampering.
Manafort is being pressured to do any talking that Mueller can squeeze out of him. And it's phony. It's a complete phony false charge.
Bingo. In other words, anyone listening to this show could be arrested for alleged attempted anything.
I've been arrested for attempted anything back.
All right. Well, I actually looked into what he was the bail revoked for. Yeah. Barry, thank you for listening. I mean, I think people listen to me for the hard reality of my positions. I get zany sometimes. I get that, but I can also be pretty much down on what's happening. You know, is this Woody? I love this. Woody, thank you for listening. You have great yogurt. Woody, this is the guy I was talking about. Woody, thanks for listening on KSFO.
Yes, sir.
Wait, well, let me tell them who you are. You are the actual Woody who was incarcerated, what was it, 20 years ago?
25 years ago.
Okay, for some mortgage stuff. Then you did your time, you came out, you opened a wonderful yogurt store, which I happen to love. I don't eat a lot of sweets. I happen to love your yogurt. It's in Strawberry Village in Marin County. Woody is going to tell us when he comes back how he survived San Quentin. Here's the actual guy. I can't believe it.
Savage.
We're talking about the FBI today. Well, guess what? The FBI has actually issued an urgent request to reboot your home or office internet router right now to help disrupt a massive foreign-based malware attack. Hundreds of thousands of routers have already been compromised. The malware is called VPN Filter. It could collect the information passing through your router. A compromised router can put your privacy and the security of your devices at stake. There are many threats in today's digital world, and good thing that LifeLock identity theft protection now includes the power of Norton Security, which gives you added protection. They use proprietary technology, which helps protect against identity theft, like your info for sale on the dark web. Norton helps protect against online threats like ransomware. So if you have a problem, their agents will work to fix it. We all know no one can stop every cyber threat or prevent all identity theft, but new LifeLock with Norton Security can uncover threats you might otherwise miss. So join now, and for the first year, get an additional 10% off the low starting price of only $7.99 a month, plus taxes. So go to LifeLock.com, promo code SAVAGE. It's simple. LifeLock.com, promo code SAVAGE. We have a few minutes left in this hour to talk to Woody, who was incarcerated for some kind of white-collar crime 20 years ago and went to San Quentin. Woody, I can't believe you're listening instead of being in your wonderful yogurt shop. Tell us how you survived. First of all, tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Okay, I mean, when you go in from, and I was off there, but I was special assistant to Governor Reagan. I sped next to him for 2.5 years. I was with Senator Dole at the RNC for 2 years, and on 4 White House staffs as a senior advance man. So when you go from that world into San Quentin, it is beyond comprehension. There is so much evil in San Quentin you can't imagine. And I survived because I got very, very lucky. I had written to the Marin County grand jury. They came in and interviewed me in the warden's office. And then they realized what sort of condition I was in. I hadn't had a shower in 3 weeks. You have to buy everything like clean underwear, stuff like that. And so the warden then shipped me out to Solano County, to Vacaville, and I ended up in the at California Medical Facility, which is the hospital first and a prison second. About as low level as you can get. Got into the law library and started helping the Crips, the Bloods, the Border Brothers, North-South Gang. So they left me alone because I could help them, and I never charged anything. Everything's for sale in the in prison, and I never charged once. So they protected me. And
Woody, let's go back to how did you get put into San Quentin for a white-collar crime when you had been in the White House? Who did that to you?
Well, it was Marin County District Attorney did, and my own attorney, who had served me up, guaranteed me only probation if I pled to 13, from 857 down to 13, to breach of fiduciary trust. And I did that, and then he said that, don't worry about it, everything's fine. He's one of the Hallinans, okay? Big,
Oh, my God. You used that liberal slime ball as a lawyer?
Yeah. His brother ended up being the DA, and then, of course...
so, in your opinion, your lawyer, your liberal lawyer, set you up for a fall?
Oh, my God. She had fallen off a ladder and couldn't work. And they're ready to...
Woody, who was the DA in Marin County who did this to you?
Jerry Herman. He's now...
Where is he today?
He's retired. You know, he's making $200,000 a year sitting on his butt after he retired at 55.
So he sent you, a white-collar criminal, to San Quentin in order to get you, whacked or beaten?
In government, you retire out at 55, then they have to bring somebody else in.
This is an example of the American justice system. We're talking with Woody, who survived San Quentin. Woody, stay on the line.
Michael Savage, a host like no other.